Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of This Week in Eorzea. With me, as always, is the amazingly talented Pyra.
Hello. Hi, Debbie. Happy Monday.
You can tell she's seeping talent just right as she sits. It's radiating like
something. Something's radiating.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We've got some news today, and then we'll get into our hot topic. But first of all, we've got a maintenance tonight, don't we? Breaking news. Important world maintenance for infrastructure?
Yeah, that's kind of what they called it. It was just infrastructure, question mark?
Yeah, so don't know quite what they're doing. It's technical stuff. We wouldn't understand it. So the world and the online store will be down for, what do they say, 4 hours?
About 4 hours. I know on the East Coast it's like somewhere between 2 to 6 a.m. So between 11 p.m. Pacific to 3. Is that math? Is my math mathing? 3 hour difference?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we'll get some kind of notes on that when it's finished. Usually when they do something like this, it actually finishes a little bit early too, so just heads up on that. But because it is a Monday night, make sure you do get your weeklies done before it goes down. If you're on the West Coast and you still have a chance before it cuts off. Auto demolition is paused for North American worlds due to whatever the heck is going on in the States. Like, what is going on with your weather, my dudes? I am so sorry. Obviously, one, to everyone who's affected by it, and two, to people who aren't able to get onto the game or don't have the ability to be on the internet or be online. Are you in an area that is affected by some of these storms, or?
Thank goodness, no. I have friends and family down south, but as far as myself, I'm up in New England. I am very far away from hurricane season, but yeah, I don't know if you've been following the news, the real life news, we'll say, but the hurricanes are just like, it's been pretty intense, and there's actually another one set to hit Tuesday, Wednesday, or like Wednesday, Thursday into Florida for like the whole state of Florida. So it's been pretty catastrophic for a lot of areas. So I feel like 14's usually really good about this type of thing. Like if there's any, it's not like they can really necessarily support, but like if they can pause auto demolition or something to help do something towards people who may be affected, I'm glad to see that they continue to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have a house and something goes wrong in your own life, you're not able to get online, there isn't much they can do about. But in circumstances where a lot of players could be affected and not able to log in, then they are really good about hitting that pause button. And if the past is any indication, they won't be turning demolition on at least for a few months to help people get back into a position where they can get back into game. So this is, again, only for North American servers exclusively. So if you are on a North American world and you're not able to log in, you are not at risk currently of losing your house. And they will send out a bunch of different messages before they put that back into place. So, in other news, hippo calf minion prices have skyrocketed. What is this about?
So, Mudang, for those who do not know, there is we're talking real life now. In Thailand, there is a zoo with a baby hippo that has become viral. She's just a viral sensation. She is the it girl. She is the sassy and pudgy and sweet and spicy hippo all blended into one and absolutely adorable. And I guess the 14 community has also kind of caught on to her gloriousness because at least on the couple servers I checked, all the hippocalf prices skyrocketed to about like 1 million gil per, which would have been like maybe 20k a week or two, like a few weeks ago.
What is going on? Okay. So this is just a dungeon minion, right? Like
Tiny
okay.
hippo. And it's been in the game for over one expansion at this point. But I guess Miss Mudang is taking the world by storm. She is. I love Mudang, so I'm a Mudang stan. But like, people are getting tattoos of Mudang. People are like flying across the world to see her. Like, it's a thing, and it is funny to see that. Like, to go on TikTok and to see it blowing up there, and then like go in game and see it like bleeding over into our like fantasy world. I'm like, what does this little baby hippo have a hold of the community? Like, how did that happen?
That is so bizarre. I am not a TikToker, but this astounds me. Like, hippos eat people, right? And she's cute now, but
yeah. Well, and like, it's her and her mom's just chilling and vibing, and like, she does spark joy, and like, she's a real girl. Like, she's very sassy. She'll like try to bite the like, and just like, it's like bite like a little cat bite, like a little bite on the knee of like the zookeeper, and you know, she just wants to hang out with her mom, eat, and sleep. That's all she wants to do. And so a lot of people are like, me too. I identify as Mudang.
She's become some people's spirit animal. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I'm there. My dog acts exactly like Mudang. So I'm like, you know what? She's the it girl. She's the 2024 it girl. And it spawned so much, so it's kind of fun seeing it transfer over into Final Fantasy. I never thought that would happen, but we're here.
Okay, so for anyone wanting to take advantage of this trend, just spam Vanispati over and over again, get a hippo, and see if it'll sell.
Yeah.
For a ridiculous amount of gil.
Do it for Mudang. Do it for the it girl of the century.
Or, you know, if you're thinking of purchasing the mount, maybe try to farm it first. Okay. Yeah. That's it for news. I was expecting a little bit more, honestly, because we had gotten the live letter last week, but I'm guessing Yoshi's just letting it cook right now. So
probably letting people play 16 and like letting it figure its thing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do we got? We got what was I gonna pull up? Oh my god. What aren't we talking about? Okay, so here's some backstory. We're not talking about the fact that we said we weren't gonna talk about DDoS attacks. Let's just forget that ever happened. God. Because it still continues to be news. And it's still the only thing some communities are talking about. And it's gotten so bad this week that the professional rare fisher players have gotten in on it and are now upset. These DDoS attacks have started threatening rare fish windows, and they have declared war. You don't get fishing mains angry, right? Like, everyone knows this, right?
The situation just sounds fishy to me. I mean, if you ask me.
Listen, I have no idea why this isn't going away. Everyone is just really confused. Some people thought it was a response to something that happened with a Dawn Trail release. Like, have you heard any rumors about this? Like, there's like conspiracies and everything.
That was the only like theory I remember hearing back when it started, literally back in like what, May? Something around that. Like I think it was May was when it really started taking form. And the whole thing was about, well, maybe it's because, and this is like what I've heard, not my opinion, obviously, but maybe it's because people were that upset with having like a transgender voice actress coming into the space, and like some people just weren't happy with choices like that, which are ignorant in my opinion. But it's now 5-6 months past when these started, and it still happens. Like if they wanted to really like screw over the release of Dawn Trail, like it's happened. That ship is already out in the ocean. Like I don't know what else there's to gain from crashing the servers.
And I mean, the raiders are over, so probably the only people you're upsetting right now are the fishers. And
it's personal now.
They know where to drop your body.
Oh my.
Oh my. Listen, like I don't know what else to say. If you want to laugh though, and you follow Fruity Snacks on Twitter, he's had a little bit of a rant lately on how these are affecting poor innocent fishers, and the responses to his post are just fantastic. So if you want to see the opinions of a bunch of fisher mains, definitely check it out.
Did the post hook you there?
Yeah, it did. I will try to put a link to it in the description below.
No more fish puns. I'm done.
Is that all you have?
We'll see.
Oh man. Okay. What? Hot topic, I guess. Let's just get into it. That's why everyone's here. We had a bit of a discussion regarding this in Discord, and going forward, we will discuss the hot topic just a couple of days before the podcast. So if you do want to get in on the conversation early, make sure to sign up for our Discord. The link will be in the description below. We are talking about role-playing in Final Fantasy XIV and the pros and cons, maybe how far people should take it, and maybe whether or not it's gone too far already in game. So first, Pyra, a question. Chat, you can chime in if you want. Do you roleplay in 14?
I do not. At the maximum amount that I do, which I say I do not as a blanket statement. Like I've been to some venues before, and I like going to like events in game. However, I feel like I go in as my character is me, and less as playing out a scenario, less as me creating a character. I do enjoy kind of like pretending you're hanging out with somebody in a club, but not necessarily like a backstory with me kind of like creating a narrative, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. And I mean, some of these venues, I've never been to an event, but some of these places are like crazy decorated, like
staffed with like
right?
the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole different like game altogether. This is not someone's side project. Like the people who are in on this are in like 100% 40 hours a week. Like this is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
What about like lotteries and that sort of side of it? Do you have any thoughts on that sort of thing? Or I don't even know what they are. I just hear them shouted in main cities like, "Hey, lottery, give us Gil and you win a chance to get Gil." Right?
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, that's a good point too, because like I've seen those since like A Realm Reborn, but I haven't looked at them as RP or partaken in them. But yeah, it's it kind of all is into that RP building if you think about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so the first major point we're gonna get on is party finder spam. So go into any world, at least in North America, I assume in other regions as well. Go onto the party finder. There is a large percentage of non-content party finders up. Everyone who has played the game knows what I'm talking about. Yoshi P has said
Oh. Oh.
Oh.
Here she comes
Hello.
back.
Wow,
Hello?
that was weird. It's just like
Stream's still
reset.
here. The
Okay.
stream's still running. I don't know.
Okay. Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, welcome back, stream. Sorry about that. See, this is how you know it's live. Like, legit.
Right? I mean, if you need any evidence, we wouldn't script this.
Briefly sundered.
Briefly sundered. Yes, exactly. Okay. So Yoshi P has said it was not meant for that type of content. I don't know when we cut out, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, what are your thoughts on it?
On, like, for me with, like, the PF spam, I wish there was just kind of a filter. I feel like it could be a little bit easily mitigated with, like, a filter. I think there needs to, you know, we should have space for, like, the venues and the RP community, but it does, as someone who also reads, it does get annoying sometimes to try to look for things, and it's all RP. So I wish there was, like, either a separate tab for RP. Like, I mean, especially, we already have a separate, like, online status icon, if you want to call it that. Like, you have your busy, AFK, you have, like, your Sprout, your Crown for Mentor. Like, there is one for RP, so, like, why can't we have some sort of filter for, like, non-RP then? Or filter by RP, I think would be nice.
Yeah, no, that makes a good point. So, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So, I mean, instead of trying to get the RP out of the party finder, why not just make its own separate part of it? The dev team was hoping that the inclusion of, like, what is it? Communities and stuff in game. They have, like, those in-game
the fellowships?
boards. The fellowships, yeah. Okay.
Dead in the water.
That's the reaction I thought I was gonna get. So, listen, if you try to solve a problem with something that doesn't work for the group intended to use it, it's not gonna solve the problem. So you can't say, hey guys, get out of the party finder. We don't want you in there. It's spamming it. It's causing problems for players. Here's your own little program you can use to get together. And if it's not functioning the way they want it to, it isn't.
No. Nope.
I think I joined one and sent, like, 2 messages and then just completely stopped using it.
I tried for a while. And I joined some meme ones, and I had a couple serious ones, but it's kind of like that too little too late. And exactly like you said, if the people who are intended to use it do not find, like, any type of reason to use it, it's just not worth it.
Okay, so that is one area that your average person can encounter it in-game. The other way is, listen, I don't know how to say this. Have you been on Balong? Have you been to Ul'dah on Balong?
I don't dare. I've been to Balong to visit friends.
Okay, gotcha.
Exclusively, like, friends I know from real life. Like,
okay,
we're like, hey, we're in an FC here, and I'm like, I love you too much. I've been to your wedding. I will come visit you. Reluctantly, but no, I'm kidding.
Okay, so For anyone who may not know, and for those who are pretending they don't know, Ulda on Balong is just a large RP get-together, I guess is the best way to say it. It's like you zone in and you are in the middle of it. You walk towards the adventurers guild and you're in it. you are in the midst of it. So what it is probably like 10 Limsa stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
pretty much. So when we're talking about Limsas, when we're talking about Ulda on Balong, what are we talking about? We're talking about a space where people are showing off and shouting, I guess is the best way to say it. So people are standing around looking pretty crazy, emoting on the floor, music's playing, shouts are going off. This type of interaction. Do you think it is a good thing or a bad thing? Do you have any thoughts on it?
I do have thoughts about it. I feel like depending on the community, and it's kind of hard to make a blanket statement, like, I'm fine with people RPing in public. Like, it is very, in Limsa you see it a lot, in Balong you see it probably the most. It has the stereotype of being, like, the biggest RP server, like, openly RP. It doesn't bother me until it becomes invasive. And when I say invasive, like, and I've had this happen before in certain zones where it's like, people won't stop DMing you. And it's like, okay, now you're invading my space. In public, or if it start, I also, like, I'm kind of a prude in the sense of, like, keep the chat semi-clean, please, and not, like, go straight to, like, erotic out in public. I'm like, whoa, like, calm it down there. Or spam. That's the only other thing that I'm like the emote, like, you see the Lalafell.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then also the chat's like, nods, and then it's like, okay, can we not, like, spam? But, like, if it's not, like, invasive in any of those ways, like, to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, these areas are fun to kind of visit for a little while. But like you said, I notice, especially on Balong, if I'm there over long, I will start getting whispers that are of the attention to my character's appearance variety. And that can get a little uncomfortable. Like, you answer one or two and you're like, haha, thanks. And then you just like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna go home now. So what happens when someone who is RPing creates an exclusive event? Like, you might see it on Party Finder, looking for cat people only, or, you know, other exclusionary populations either are permitted or not permitted. Should that sort of, I don't even know what to call it. Should they be able to make those decisions, and should those decisions be advertised in a public way?
It's so weird to me, like, as someone who's not a full, like, not really an RPer, when you start kind of, like, having certain exclusions, and I've even seen it cross the boundaries of, like, your character into, like, your person, it's kind of feeling almost discriminatory. And I'm like, do we say that about, like, playable characters and races and features that, like, we choose? Like, is it discriminatory? Like, you know, kind of feels weird.
It does, especially since you can't change the race of your character on a dime, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, you can Fantasia, but it's behind a paywall if you've already used like your freebies, and it is a really strange one. And there are people who have obviously been hurt by this, which is why it's become a hot topic. There are some people who have cited examples of just plain racism, where they've been kicked out of events for being a particular race or a particular gender. And given that the RP community doesn't have moderators, to what extent should we be holding others accountable, or should we just automatically assume that anything RP is just the Wild West and let it kind of ride? You know, it's really hard, because I bet even mods in game don't really know what to do with this, right? Like, it's completely unmoderated.
Yeah, it's very tough with that kind of like Wild West vibe. I think it's so tough, because it's like I would never want to necessarily be like, hey, you can't play like this, you can't do something that you want to do. However, it's like I feel like there is this like social line where it's like your RP, you know, issues that you might be with like a fantasy game, like kind of cross over into like social issues of IRL, and like say racism is one of those things where it's like it kind of creeps me out a little bit if somebody is using that but then justifying it with, oh, it's just a game. And it's like, is there something deeper though? Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts with that one?
No, exactly. So what comes into my mind when I'm thinking about this is children playing in a sandbox, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, I want to be like this hero, and I want to be this hero. And someone's like, oh, no, that hero doesn't exist here. Get out of the sandbox. It's like, well, we're all playing, right? We're all having fun. It's a game. So do we have to set limits? And the thing is, we can't see people's intentions, right? So we don't know if those limits are set for the betterment and the fun of everyone, or whether they're set because of a person's personal beliefs. And you just, it's hard to figure that one out, because we can't see the other person. We can't look them in the eyes. We can't ask them why they're doing what they're doing. And so, because there's a lack of context, people are just going to fill in their own context. And I don't want to, you know, do anything against people who enjoy doing this. Like, it's a completely separate version of Final Fantasy XIV, but there appears to be maybe some collateral damage. New players I've heard that have played a Lala and have been discriminated against, and they're asking in forums whether they should have chosen this character, or whether there are other classes or races they shouldn't play. And that kind of makes me feel sad, right? Like, we don't want anyone to think that there's like wrong races to play, right?
Right. Absolutely. It's so tough. Like, I'm kind of in this cop-out answer of like, can't we all just get along? Like, the only time I think it's made sense to me has been like the 18 plus thing. I think that's the only time where I've seen like a filter of like who you are should maybe potentially exclude you from this event, is when it's adults versus minors, because it's like that I can see for a lot of different reasons.
But okay, food for thought though. You make a really valid point. But does saying 18 plus on a party finder have any sort of impact on who can join? Because there's no checks and balances as to whether the person who's playing is actually 18. It doesn't require you to sign in or put your birth date or anything that would identify you as not being a minor. So the person you are RPing with could be anyone.
I think that's something that every person who even just plays the game, not just RPs, has to like understand. Like there should be a waiver when you play. Like people lie on the internet.
What?
What? Breaking news. People lie. Use your best judgment. Try to not be cringy on the internet.
Well, there you go. But I mean, if I was responsible for the game and I had people doing sexually explicit things, talking to each other in sexually explicit ways under the guise of like, oh, this is only for adults, even though I knew there was no way to verify, like I would be kind of worried that players could be putting themselves in a very bad position, right? Like, and I, for that reason, I could see why Yoshi P kind of wants to like get that off of a party finder, so it's not as easy for younger people to find.
I think kind of exactly what you said earlier too, where it's like, oh, what was I gonna say? Completely poofed.
Oh no!
No! I had a train of thought. LaPoof, come back to me.
It'll come back. It'll come back. But I mean, that's part of why I personally wouldn't RP that way on the game. Like, you have no idea who the other person is. You have no idea how old they are. You have no idea how mentally well they are. You have no idea. You just don't know. You just don't know. And the thought of putting myself in a position where I can be stalked, which is something that we all know happens in game because they've just improved the blacklist to prevent it from being so prevalent. Like, they've already had to put steps in place to clean up after some of these interactions that become very messy, right?
Yeah. That was going to be one of the I found my thing where it's just, they can't, they being like Square Enix, they can't act like it doesn't happen and just pull a curtain over it and like, no, those things don't, like, it happens. People ERP in this game. People RP in this game. There are minors on this game. There are adults on this game. So, like, are there ways that we can have systems to make it more safe? You know, maybe it is age checks. I don't even know what the answer would be. But just, I feel like at a certain point, like, they, being the developers, have to acknowledge that, like, these are real things that happen constantly. It's not just like an off case of like, oh, someone's, you know, talking about explicit content in the game. Like, no, this happens like on a daily. There are strip clubs in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, it is, if anything, it is a regular thing that happens. And so, like, what do we do to keep everybody in check if that needs to be them?
Yeah, and maybe more liberal use of the RP flag is needed. So here's an anecdote. I was in the Firmament one day. I'm a Fantasia addict, by the way. To put this into perspective, I'm a Fantasia addict. I've been every single race in the game for a period of time and cycled through. Like, I've been multiple races multiple times. And I was in the Firmament one day, and I was on a Femro, which I've played a couple of times. I like the class, or the race, sorry. I like the race. But I was just minding my own business, doing some crafting, and someone sends me a DM, a whisper that's like, "You slay, queen." And I'm like, wait, what? What's going on here? And then they invite me to like an all Rogaden FC. And I'm like, Okay, no, but thank you. So it's sometimes kind of overlaps with people who aren't part of that scene, just for looking a particular way, or you know, um, which is fantastic. But I don't know the rules. I don't know what races mean what, and what. It seems like there's like some unwritten code that I don't have access to, you know?
Absolutely. I definitely know I feel like there are a lot of rules that are like Wild West, like you said. Like there are like codes and rules and whatever, but it is all like community enforced if they enforce it. So like the rest of us who aren't in that little circle are just kind of like, huh? Like what is this?
I mean, I'm flattered, but I don't know what I did. I was just standing there. Do you think the best way for them to address it at this point in time is to actually thrust it out into the open? Like, trying to make it silently go away hasn't helped. Should they become more RP forward? Should they create other things in game to facilitate this community? What do you think is the best way to kind of help the two cohabitate peacefully?
I think part of it is just exactly that, of like, don't act like, don't hide it, don't try to sugarcoat it, don't try to ignore it. Like, it's a very prevalent part of this game for a lot of people, and I think the best way forward is just trying to integrate it where the people who want to RP can RP very happily. It doesn't have necessarily much restrictions on them. However, the people who have no interest in RP can kind of filter that noise out. Because if it's not something you like, it's noise. Not to, it's not noise to, it's kind of like the one man's junk is another man's treasure. Like, if somebody loves it, like, that's their world and that's their focus, and that's great. But if they don't, like, it does get very clogged. Like, you can't walk in any major city without your shout chat being spammed, or your PFs, you can't look at PF without a third of it plus being just venues. And so, like, I feel like we could benefit from some system to kind of just facilitate that and organize it from kind of non-RP play, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I don't RP in game, but I think maybe the best way to solve this is to help people who RP in game. Give them their own party finder. Give them their own special, I don't know, change the RP flag or something, so that people who can wear the RP flag have guaranteed that they're over the age of 18 or 19. Like, do things that improve the lot of it, so it doesn't feel so shady and underground. Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of get rid of that dank where the low liars hang out. Because if oh, now it's starting to sound like a clean use site or something. That's not what I mean. But if you clean it up, if you shine the light on it, it's less likely that people who prey on other people are going to hang out there. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's kind of like a lot of other things in this game where, like, it, even if it wasn't intended to be for RP, like, that's just a major part of the community. And ignoring it just ignores a major part of our community, which is also not good. Like, we don't want to be like, okay, you guys get locked in a closet and you can't speak about it in public. Like, shame. Like, we don't want to do that. But oh, chat, hidden dank. Don't hide the dank. But like, maybe everybody can get along in organized fashion.
I think what's good for one would be good for everyone else. Like helping one side of this is going to help everybody.
Yeah.
That's my hope. Final thoughts.
I think my final thoughts are just kind of, it's cop-out, but it's the same as everything else. Like, don't push on to others what you wouldn't want pushed onto yourself. Something like that. Phrasing is not on point tonight, but yeah, I mean, I'm totally accepting and happy of people who RP in the community. I think being that there are a lot of, and I saw some posts today actually about like more relationship personal side of the RP and ERP world, and for me it's like there are so many unwritten rules that are kind of Wild West, and so being that like there's no necessarily system for that, like having some sort of in-game organization of that I think would be good, so that anybody who's interested in exploring that more can be part of that, and then those of us who aren't can kind of just like scooch to the left a step.
And I mean, bottom line is we all enjoy a little bit of RP in our Final Fantasy game. We all like to emote. We all like to glam up. We all like to, you know, say things in party chat. Like, we're not... No one in the game is all like... Well, I can't say that. I was like, no one in the game is just like, no personal interactions, must kill only. But there are those
there are people.
But for the most part, we're all kind of interested in it. It's just organizing it in a way so that people who don't want to get unintentionally sucked into it, or people who are trying to abuse it, you know, can take advantage of those systems. Bottom line, I think, is I think more attention needs to be given to it. I think it does need ways to be moderated. I think it does need ways to be controlled and not so much limited, but given its own space. Like, it's not about getting it, like you said, out of our space. It's about giving it its own space so that it can thrive, and the people who want to be included in it can be included in it. Yeah, as for segregation and that sort of thing in RP, yeah, it is just a feel bad thing. It's like, if you tell people they can't play in the sandbox, people are going to get upset.
Yeah.
So even if it's like breaking immersion or something, try to find a way to have everyone play. Yeah, the imagination is a powerful thing. Just saying. I honestly don't know, guys, but my thoughts are, I think they could do better to the RP community. I think they could do better to the venue community. I think we should trade in the systems that aren't working for systems that will. And I think that we will both be happier with a party finder that caters to what we're looking for. Absolutely. Okay, if you wanted in on the discussion, didn't get a chance to say what you wanted to say, or want to continue talking about this, check out our This Week in Eorzea Discord. I will put the link in the description below. Okay, tip of the week. Speaking of spam, I don't even know why this came into my head. So, speaking of spam, if you periodically see a message in your chat that says, of the parties currently recruiting, all match your search conditions, you can turn this off by clicking the cog in the upper right corner of the party finder and unchecking the display advanced search results in log box. I do this immediately on every character I create. And so it really strikes me as odd when I see another player with that key spamming their text box every 5 minutes. And I'm like, why? Why do you do this? Pyra, why do you do this?
I'm lazy, okay?
It's just that easy to get rid of it. Or you can actually change your search criteria if you are looking for a party, and it can give you useful information, but
Noted. This tip was for me specifically.
Maybe another appropriate tip though is for your emotes. If you want to spam an emote but not spam the log, you can go into the options menu of your emote options and turn that off, so it doesn't do the chat message in chat when you're doing the emote.
I do that.
Hey.
That one I do. I go back and forth though. Like I truthfully go back and forth because sometimes I want people to see, like, hey, I ran up and gave this person a hug, and then if I'm gonna spam, it's like, nah, turn that off.
No, okay. Good point, because I've been meaning to turn my back on occasionally because I'll like go to wave at someone or emote at someone to get their attention, and I realize, oh, they probably didn't see my character do the thing, and there was no log message to tell them, so they probably didn't see me. What else do we got? Community check-in. I don't know what we should talk about.
Let's see. Community check-in. We're still a little ways away from the next patch.
We are. Maybe we'll ask about RPing. See what kind of percentage of people roleplay in the game.
I like
to
that.
What degree.
4 piece. Who doesn't? Maybe have a scale of like
occasional
really
emoter all the way up to venue owner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in the 10-point scale?
Professional pimp. Making 6 figures of gil constantly.
Oh my god. The millions upon millions I imagine they make.
It's insane.
Okay. That's it for this week. Pyra, what are you up to?
Great question. I am up to a bit of raiding. We have weekly re-clears Wednesday, as well as hopefully getting into UCOB Prague again. We got to phase 3 barely, so trying to chug our way through UCOB before Fru in November, December, something like that. And then hopefully Final Fantasy 16 if my stream would like to cooperate with me this week.
Oh no.
It wouldn't stream, so I haven't played it, so I could try to wait for stream.
That's sad. Okay, and as for me, I am working tomorrow, unfortunately, but I do have Dragon Age Awakening on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Maps as always on Friday, and Extreme 2 on Saturday. So join me for those. As well, I've been working on some YouTube videos. Hopefully those will be up soon. Thank you everyone who has commented on my recent ones. I appreciate that. That is all for this week. We will be back next week, same time, same channel, for more Final Fantasy XIV news and discussion. Thank you so much everyone for watching.
That's it for me. Thank you guys. Have a great week.
Take care, everyone.
Fall asleep. Goodbye.
Bye.